everybody, and welcome to another episode of For You from Eve. Welcome or welcome back. In case you are new here, my name is Olivia Eve. I started this podcast around 3 or 4 years ago. We talk all things self-growth, self-love, all that good stuff. I kind of just started getting into the habit of video podcasts, as you can see. So I had a camera on my last video, and then for this, I'm literally just using my laptop camera. So let me know if you guys can notice a difference of quality, if it's worth it. Obviously, if you guys are really enjoying video podcasts, I will buy a really nice camera for it, but I'm just kind of deciding if it's the wave for me, if it's the way I want to go, the direction I want to go in. Because I normally do just, mic and audio podcasts, but I do kind of want to get into video podcasts as well because it's really great for promotion. So I'm kind of just recording it how I normally record my guest episodes. I have my bedroom in the back. In my last episode, I had my office in the back, and I just feel like my bedroom is more my aesthetic and my vibe, especially because I post all over my bedroom on Instagram and on TikTok. So because I like to show my bedroom a lot, you guys love the aesthetic of it. You guys just love like the cozy vibes. I got my skincare headband on. I got a big sweater on. I don't have makeup on. Like we're just in that, really, well, that's a lot. I have concealer and blush on, but we're just kind of like cozy and comfortable, and we're just talking. This is like being on FaceTime with your best friend. We don't have a big production set yet. Hopefully one day we do. But right now we're kind of just casual. We're comfortable. We're talking. We're getting real. We're getting raw. And I'm really excited for today's episode because we're going to be talking about being emotionally bulletproof. And I feel like my show recently has been talking a lot just about becoming the highest value version of yourself and just learning how to value yourself and how to set your morals, set your standards, set your expectations, all that stuff. And I'm so excited to kind of just dive into it. And I feel like each episode we've been diving deeper and deeper into ways to become the best version of yourself. Obviously, this show is all about self-love and self-growth and self-improvement, but I also want to make sure we can have those super real and raw conversations and just conversations you would have with a sister or with a best friend, which is obviously why I started this podcast in the first place. I do, of course, take notes on my laptop. So if you see me looking over here to read them, that is why, but I'm going to try my hardest to look at you guys, but I just like to read off my notes a little bit as well. Also, because I'm so used to audio podcasts, reading off my notes is pretty normal for me. But I want to talk about being emotionally bulletproof, being good at failure, practicing emotional resilience, canceling overthinking and overanalyzing, and just strengthening your inner peace and strengthening who you are inside. And just kind of trying to fix how you face problems, how you face adversity, how you face failure, all that good stuff. Before we get into today's episode, I started this new series called Lives Loves, where I show you guys something that I've been loving recently. And I kind of just like to show it to you guys, talk to you guys about it. And maybe it's something that you can start using in your routine or just start using in your day to day, or a product that you can start purchasing and using. Today's Lives Love is my Road moisturizer. I have been absolutely obsessed. It's the Barrier Butter, and it was all over my like TikTok For You page, honestly, for like weeks. And I always did trust Hailey Bieber's skincare recommendations because her skin has been beautiful. And I know that this is something she's been working on for years. So because she was working on it for years, I was trusting it a ton. So I finally got my hands on it and I've been loving it. It's been keeping me super, super hydrated. I use a pretty heavy face wash. I use Panoxyl because I do struggle from acne and struggle from often breaking out. I like to use a heavier face wash, but then I really like to use more gentle skincare as well. I use an oil cleanser. I use a lot of Korean skincare, serums, moisturizers, toners, and then this moisturizer as well, which has been really great, especially because it's winter and my skin dries out easier. So that is today's Lives Loves of the week. Please make sure that you guys also follow me on all my social medias. I know we just had that huge TikTok scare, which was like literally 12 hours long. Honestly, I didn't even care about TikTok as much as I cared about CapCut because that is where I record all my brand deals. So I had a ton of brand deals like half edited on it and I lost all of it and I was stressed out, freaking out about it. So make sure you follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at For You From Eve. Everything is linked in the description. I've been posting a ton on my YouTube shorts, on my TikTok, on my Instagram. I do work days in the life. I do morning routines, night routines, self-care routines, skincare routines, literally post all the best things for you girls. So definitely make sure you check it out. And please give this show a good rating, a good review, download my episodes, follow the show, listen to my ads all the way through. It helps the show so much when you guys do that. So please make sure that you listen to the audio version, the video version, whatever you're not listening to, and show support in any ways that you can. It helps the show so much, which helps me so much, which helps you. So without further ado, now that we got all that good stuff out of the way, let's get into how to become emotionally bulletproof. Let's start off by talking about being good at failure. How do I become good at failing? How do I become comfortable with failing? Everybody is good when they're succeeding. When they're at the top, they're good, right? They probably are happy. They're probably bubbly. They're probably on a good routine. They're probably in a better mood. They're probably more financially stable. Why? Because they're already at the top. But what were they like when they were failing? What were they like when they had to start from square one again? What were they like when they got disappointed again? Everybody is great when they're successful, but who are you when you're failing? Who are you when you're at the bottom? Who are you when you have to start from zero again? Who are you when there's people disappointing you, people stabbing your back? Like, who are you in those low times? You have to be good at failing. You have to accept failure and learn to move forward from it. You also have to give failure a different definition. I always say failure isn't failure unless you've stopped trying. So let's say you want to start this huge business project and you're working on it for a few months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You're working on this business project and then it all kind of goes to shit. Let's say you lose a bunch of money on it. You're not making any sales. You have a really bad problem with inventory and now your business went to shit. You lost money on it. You didn't gain anything from it, right? You didn't gain anything from it. And you sit back and you're like, I just failed. Like, I just failed miserably on this business. I lost so much money. I wasted so much time, other people's time. I got people's hopes up. I'm a disappointment. I'm a failure, etc. Let's say these thoughts start to go through your head. If you decide to not try again, or if you decide to not go in a different direction with a different business, then you have failed and you are a failure. If you make the decision to not start over and do something else, or to not start over and try the same thing again, you are a failure. But if you look at all the money you just lost and all the time you just wasted, and you sit back to yourself and you say, you know what? I'm going to take everything I learned from this project and I'm going to not do it in my next project. And all the good things I did in this project, I'm going to apply to my next project. So taking what you took from failure, taking what you learned from failing and applying it to your next project so that you do succeed eventually. Being good at failure means just accepting the fact that you have not failed unless you have stopped. Getting rejected from a school, or getting an F on a test, or even failing in a relationship, failing in a friendship, whatever it is that you feel like you cannot win at, you feel like you can't help but get disappointed in, and you can't help but just take the L. Like, honestly, you just feel like you're taking the L in the same situation over and over again. Start to take it better. Stop taking failure the same way. Stop accepting failure the same way that you always do. When you're doing business, or when you're in school, or you're in a relationship, if the same things keep happening to you and keeps bringing you down in that aspect of life, how are you responding to it? Are you responding to it the same every single time? Because if you're responding to failure the same way every single time, you're going to keep failing. You are going to continue to keep failing. You will not succeed because you are not changing anything. You are failing and you are responding the same way. You are bed rotting, you are texting your ex, you are trying the same business project, you're working with the same people that you worked with before that brought you everything but good things, and you are expecting a different result, which is just not possible. It is not possible to do the same exact things and get different results. You have to learn to be bad at something, fail miserably at something, lose money, waste time, pick yourself back up and try it differently. Whether it's you're trying a whole new project or you're just trying a different approach to the same project, you have to learn how to be good at accepting failure and moving forward. The next thing I want to talk about is who we are when we are overly emotional, how we act, how we present ourselves. Sometimes we present ourselves so horribly because we're at a low point in life. So if you're going through something, that is not an excuse to be a shitty person. It's just not. You can't go through something and treat everybody like shit and use that as an excuse and expect everybody to forgive you and get over it. At the end of the day, if you go through something, whether it's trauma, whether it's something small, whether it's something big, whether it's the worst thing you ever went through in your life, or it's just a bad day, no matter what it is that you went through, it is not an excuse for you to treat people horribly. However, you are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to be sad. You are allowed to be anxious. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be upset. You are allowed to feel things. You are allowed to feel, right? You can overly feel. You can feel dramatically. You can feel lightly. You are allowed to feel however you want to feel. However, do not mistake that for treating everybody around you like it's their problem. Because at the end of the day, what you went through is what you went through. It is your problem. No matter how big or small it is something you have to take yourself out of. It is something that you have to heal through. And I understand that could be a little bit of tough love and a little bit like, well, and I totally understand. Like I said, you are allowed to feel how you want to feel, and you are allowed to ask people for help and expect people to be there for you. You are allowed to do those things. However, it gets to a certain point where the people around you are not going to allow what happened to you be an excuse for your actions. So if you feel like you are very overly emotional because of something that went on in your life and you're sensitive around certain things, no matter how much time has passed, learn to remove yourself from situations, learn to remove yourself from conversations, learn to be silent during certain conversations that might trigger you or be sensitive to you. Because if I were me personally, I like to shut my mouth rather than make a fool of myself. I'd rather shut my mouth than show how overly sensitive I am about a situation. Learning how to compose yourself and act like a normal human being and act okay when you are fighting that over emotion and that emotional resilience is so important. It's not easy. It's not for the weak, and it's not something you have to do every single time. If you just went through something really horrible in life, I'm not saying wake up the next morning and act like nothing happened and avoid everybody and be nice to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. You are allowed to be upset. You are allowed to be angry at life. You are allowed to feel these things. However, you also owe it to yourself and the people around you to move on from it and to stop allowing it take over yourself. And let's say just a situation happened. Let's say you just had a bad day, you slept through your alarm clock, you missed your workout class, you had to pay the workout class fee, you dropped your coffee, you spilled your clothes, you missed your train. Let's say all these things happen in one morning and you finally get to the office. And because you had such a bad morning and now you're in a bad mood because of your bad morning and you're tired, you're cranky, you're hungry, etc., that's not an excuse to be an asshole to your coworkers. That's not an excuse to not get work done because, well, I had a bad morning. Because at the end of the day, your coworkers don't care. The boss of the company, the CEO of the company does not care. They don't care that you had a bad day. They care that the work gets done and they care that they're in a good work environment. So, a lot of the time, if you're just having a bad day or a bad moment, do not allow yourself to act really dramatically or act very aggressively because of what you're feeling inside. To be able to feel like you're in a bad mood or feel angry or anxious or upset or whatever it is and still show people, hey, I'm not gonna ruin your day just because my day's ruined. I think that's a very important quality. Or if you're in a disagreement with somebody and it's getting a little bit passionate and you start to speak louder and now you're yelling and now you're talking over the person and now it just becomes fire and fire, you're making yourself look like a fool because you are acting on emotion. You are speaking on emotion. You might start saying things that you don't actually mean because you're speaking on emotion. So I think it's really, really, really important to recognize when you are not feeling your best, recognize when you are feeling overly emotional, and either take yourself out of that situation or face the situation and learn how to handle it a different way. Practice being good when you feel bad. So when you feel bad, when you feel upset, when you feel angry, practice being good. If you're angry at life, if you're angry at the morning that you had, if you're angry at the day you had at work, if you're angry at your boss, force yourself to still be good. Forcing yourself and teaching yourself and practicing being good when you feel bad is going to be your superpower, because at the end of the day, you can't have any good days without the bad days. The bad days are never going to stop coming. If they did, your life would be real boring. So the bad days are never going to stop coming, but the way that you handle them can change drastically. So learning how to handle a bad day, just the other day, actually, I was talking about this on a podcast I did. I interviewed Gemma from the Psychology of Your 20s yesterday, and I was telling her this story, and I was just telling her how we were just talking about how you really do get the choice of what you want to feel. So if you want to let something ruin your day, it will. If you want to get through something, you will. I know for me personally, I just had a morning like a month ago where I had a really great morning. I woke up at 6:30. I went to the gym at 7:15. I had a great workout. I came home. I was in such a good mood. The sun was shining. The weather was nice. I was like, this is such a good day. Like, I just had a great workout. I just took a great shower, had great breakfast. I have my whole day ahead of me and it's only 9 a.m. Like, I just felt so amazing. And I made my iced coffee and I just cleaned my room so that I'm ready to film. I think I had a podcast episode to film. I think I had a few meetings. Like, I had some work to do. So I was like, perfect. Like, I have all these things ready, whatever. Make my iced coffee all over the floor. The whole mason jar of iced coffee on the floor. Now I have a cracked mason jar. There's my Nespresso pod that I use for the iced coffee wasted. That was my last use of oat milk that I had in the fridge. My whole iced coffee that I made gone. The oat milk, the pod, the espresso, everything gone. My carpet is stained with coffee. My slippers had coffee on them, and my pajamas that I just put on this brand new cute lounge set to film in, coffee on it. Everything had coffee, the front, everything. And for a solid 2 minutes, I just stared at the situation and I was like, this sucks. I took some videos and pictures of it. And then I was like, this sucks. This could either ruin the rest of my day, or I could just look at this and just say, you know what? We ball, F it, we ball. We're getting through this. I'm going to clean it up and act like it didn't happen. And that's exactly what I did. So I had the choice. I had the choice to mope around and be pissed off that this happened and just let it ruin my day. And I had the option to clean it up and pretend it didn't happen and move forward with my day. And I chose the second option. I cleaned it up within 5-10 minutes, cleaned everything up, had to change my clothes, wash my slippers. It was such an annoying process. But at the end of the day, I was like, I have to get through this. And I cleaned everything up. Once I cleaned everything up, I continued with my day. By the end of the day, I didn't even remember it happened until I saw a picture of it. And then I was like, I'm going to use this as an example of I made the choice of how my day was going to go. Granted, there's things that are going to go worse in your life than spilling your iced coffee and staining your pajamas. However, whatever situation that it is where you feel like things aren't going right, try to fight through that and try to see the good. And if you can't see the good, be the good. I know for me, there was a time, honestly, not too long ago, I would say like the past few months, I was going through a lot of career issues. And I felt like I didn't know what I was meant to be doing. I didn't know if I was good at what I was doing. I didn't know if I was meant to be podcasting, if I was meant to be doing social media. I had not been making any money, not getting brand deals, nothing. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm posting consistently. I'm putting in the work. Like, what am I doing wrong that I am not able to perform the way I want to perform or receive the support that I want to support or the income that I think I deserve? What am I doing wrong? And I was just really struggling. And then I was working for, doing some social media and I got let go from that. And I was like, okay, now this is really opening my eyes to you are meant to be working for yourself. You are meant to be doing your own social media and your own podcasting and all that stuff. And I decided to take a step back and say, okay, my finances are an absolute shit show right now. I'm in student loan debt. Like, I have debts. There's things I want to do in the future. There's financial goals I want to accomplish before I turn 25. Like, there's things I want to do. And I started to get very stressed out and I felt like I was in a very bad place. I was in a bad place with my fitness and my health. I was in a bad place with my mental health, my physical health, and a bad place with my career, my side hustle, my business, everything. And I was like, I just feel bad. And I felt bad all the time. And it was very difficult for me to crawl out of that myself and just make the decision of, I'm going to crawl out of this and I'm going to try to list ways that I can make every aspect better. And I wrote down on my computer everything that was holding me back, everything I felt insecure in, or everything that I felt that I wasn't growing in. And once I wrote all those things down, I was able to look back and just say, okay, here's how I'm going to make a solution to all of them. I decided to be the good in the midst of the bad. There was no good. And once I made that decision for myself and I did it myself, I was able to prove to myself that, hey, this is something now that I controlled. I did this. I was good at this. And when you take yourself out of those bad situations and you're the one that makes the good and you're the one that makes that change, you feel so powerful because you are. The next thing I want to talk about is recognizing the roles of people in your life. So the people around you, your family members, your parents, your siblings, whoever you're close to in your family and your close friends, your relationship, how do they handle stress? How do they handle failure? How do they handle disappointment or grief or whatever it might be? I don't think we realize how influenced we are by the people around us. And I don't think we realize how big of a role we give the people around us. So you might be looking up to your parents, and when your parents have a bad week at work, you might know they have a bad week at work. There might be no dinner in the kitchen. There might be forgetting to talk to you all day. There might be bad moods. There might be fights. There might be attitude towards you. You might be yelling at you for no reason. That maybe is how your parents handle having a bad week at work or handle financial stress or financial burden. And because you're viewing your parents handle it that way, you think that is the way to handle it. Whether you know that you're doing it or not, we are a pattern of the people around us. So you are going to develop the habits and develop the humor, the personality traits, or whatever of the people around you that you see the most, that you are influenced by the most. So if your parents handle stress in that type of way, you might start to handle stress in that type of way. If your partner fails an exam and they're down on themselves and they're talking down on themselves and they're in the worst mood ever, and then you fail an exam, you might do the same. If your best friend gets let go from her job and she goes into a full depression, you might also do the same if you get let go from your job. Focus on the roles of the people around you. How are they handling the situations that happen in life? Because you are going to be influenced by it, whether you see it that way or you don't. You are going to be very heavily influenced by the role people have around you and who you are surrounding yourself with. I always say you are the average of your five closest friends. So if your five closest friends are all millionaires, you're going to be the sixth. If your five closest friends are all lazy and failures, you're going to be the sixth. So just be very aware of who you're surrounding yourself with and the role that they have in your life. Yes, you can be your own person. Yes, you can make your own decisions, but you're still going to be influenced by those around you. So be very aware of who it is around you. And when you're feeling down, when you're feeling upset, when you're feeling like a failure, how are they treating you? Are they babying you? Are they teaching you tough love? Are they there for a shoulder to cry on? Are they giving you advice? How do you want to be treated in those situations? And how do you want to respond to those situations? I know for me, I like a mixture and it depends who it's from. I honestly don't really go to anyone about my problems except my significant other. I feel like just because like I'm growing in my relationship, and obviously your partner that you plan to marry is going to be your best friend one day and going to be your person. So I go to my significant other for pretty much everything in life, or I go to maybe one of my best friends depending what the situation is. But I would say 98.9% of the time I go to my significant other. And I feel like when it's a relationship, it's a little bit different because they start off by giving you the shoulder to cry on or somebody to vent to. I'm comfortable enough with my partner to look at him and just be like, hey, I'm in a really bad mood. I'm going to vent about it. I don't want you to respond. Just let me talk. If you disagree, I don't want to hear it. And I'll vent and I'll feel much better. Or I'll be like, I'm really upset about the situation. I need to cry about it. And then we need to watch a movie and you need to get me snacks or whatever it might be. Or I might say, I'm in this really shit situation. Let me vent about it and then tell me what you think. So being able to approach that person in your life before you go to them about a situation, and even telling them, hey, I'm going to need some tough love. Even if I cry through the tough love, you got to give it to me because I know that I got to be doing something different. When you have the power to do that, and you have the power to recognize the fact that tough love is okay and that it's going to help you grow, you will feel so much more powerful and you will be really choosing the roles that these people have in your life. Something else that I want to remind you guys is sometimes there's nothing to overthink and there's nothing to overanalyze. Sometimes bad things just happen. We might not know why, we might not understand it yet, and we might not know if we're ever going to understand it. And sometimes there's nothing to think about. Sometimes there is no deeper meaning. Sometimes you might not understand the good of getting rejected from a school or getting fired from your job. You might be 1 year out of getting fired from your job and still unemployed and wondering, well, Liv, it's been a year and I still don't know the good. What are you doing every single day? Are you doing the same things? Are you waking up and lazily looking on LinkedIn and job leads and etc. to look for a job? Are you lazily trying to network with people? Or are you waking up every single morning, enforcing good habits into your life and reaching out to hundreds of people a day. Because if you really want a job, if you're really unemployed because you just got let go from your job, that should be lighting a fire under your ass to reach out to hundreds of people every single day until you have a job. I am telling you, if you get let go from your job, you should have enough connections where within 2 weeks you have a new job lined up. You should never feel that lost and that down. So even though bad things might happen, there's always a way out of them. And let's say there isn't. Let's say there's no way out of what just happened to you. Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Maybe it was just something that was meant to happen. You don't understand why, and maybe you never will. Just allow it to happen, heal through it, and grow through it. Build that emotional shield in front of your heart, because that is what's going to keep you bulletproof. Because once you learn how to handle yourself in bad situations, once you learn how to handle sadness or anxiety or stress, once you learn how to handle those things, everything that you go through in life is just going to be one more thing you have to go through. And you never go through it the same. You're always going to go through it as a stronger person. I always use this little example that I heard, like, I think I saw this quote on Pinterest years ago and it stuck with me. It was, we're just like, wait, like, us as humans, we're just like waves. Waves are always coming up, but they're always crashing. They are always crashing. Waves on the ocean are always crashing. And even though they're crashing to the ground, they always make themselves come back up. They always make their way back up, but they always come back looking different. So when you're being put down in life, when you feel like you're crashing under the waves, remind yourself that you're going to stand up. You're going to get up from that. You might not look the same. You might not feel the same. You might not think the same, but you're still coming up. So even if you're not coming up with the same person, you're still coming up. Something else I also want to say when it comes to being emotionally bulletproof is being very self-aware. Being very self-aware of the way that you're acting towards people and being very self-aware of your presence in a room. Whether it's a good self-awareness of, I know my value when I walk into this room and I'm going to own this room, but I'm going to keep a little bit quiet and not come off too cocky. Or it's a self-awareness of, I can tell that I'm making this person feel like shit. Let me try to handle this situation differently. Or being just self-aware with yourself. That is a huge superpower, to be self-aware with yourself. Being able to look at yourself and say, I am the reason my business isn't growing. That was something I had to do with myself when I felt like my TikTok and my Instagram and my podcast weren't growing. I had to look in the mirror and say, this is only my fault. This is nobody else's fault but mine. And when I was able to look in the mirror and just realize that if I want to be more fit and be more healthy and feel better, guess what, Liv? You got to sleep earlier and you got to wake up earlier and go to the gym. And if you're not going to do that, then you can't complain about not feeling healthy or looking fit. And then when it came to my business, it was, am I actually doing enough work in the day? Am I actually putting in enough hours during the week to have my business be at the expectations I want it to be at? And once you are self-aware enough to tell yourself, I could be doing more, you will reach so much success. Because if you have expectations of what you want your life to look like, you need to be self-aware enough to look at yourself and say, but am I matching those habits and that routine every single day where I deserve that life I want? Because you have to be deserving of the life that you want. You can't just decide it's the life that you want and wake up the next day and expect to have it. What are you doing every single day to deserve that life? Are you waking up early? Are you moving your body? Are you making your bed? Are you making the people around you feel loved and supported and cared for? Are you working towards your business every day? Are you planning it out? Are you networking and connecting with people? What are you doing to deserve that life? Because if you're just sitting back and waiting for it to come to you, it won't. Opportunities will come to you when you start to work hard. And once you work hard enough, opportunities will start to chase you. So just learn to be very self-aware and really trust yourself. Be honest with yourself, because that is going to be the most important relationship that you carry on for the rest of your life. Making sure that you're cultivating a growth mindset is also huge when it comes to being emotionally bulletproof. You should want to grow. You should love the idea of growing and healing. You should love the idea of doing things to become a better version of your yesterday self. You should love incorporating new great habits into your life. You should love creating a great routine that works for you. These are things that you should love to do. Cultivate that growth mindset and really fall in love with the idea of becoming a better version of your yesterday self, because no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to create the habits for you and create the routine. Obviously, you can listen to podcasts, you can read books, you can do all that stuff to learn how to take those first couple steps to get to where you want to be. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to wake up in the morning. You're the one that has to go to the gym. You're the one that has to drive yourself to work. You're the one that has to do those things. So unless you are doing it, you will not get the life that you want. And if you are not doing those things, you are not deserving of the life that you want. Make sure that you are protecting your peace and learning to say no. It is okay to say no. You should not feel guilty to say no. If you want to stay in one night and your boyfriend or your friends want to go out, you are allowed to say, no, I don't feel like going out tonight. I want to kind of just like have a night to myself. You are allowed to do that. If your friends really enjoy going to bars and clubs and drinking and going out to dinner, but you kind of like more low key nights, you like watching movies and baking and having dinners at home and cooking together, or just going out for small dinners, whatever it might be, and creating vision boards, whatever it might be that you enjoy doing, if you would rather do those things, but your friends are spending their Friday night doing everything you don't want to do, you're allowed to say, no, guys, I'm good. And you might feel lonely. It might feel really lonely at the top, and it feels very lonely when you are growing and when you are becoming a better version of yourself. It can be a very lonely journey because sometimes the people in your life are walking while you're running, and it's really important to just realize that it's better to be alone for a certain amount of time until the people in your life meet you there than it is to be surrounded by the wrong people and never grow and never allow yourself to grow. So learn to say no. Don't feel guilty about saying no to plans or just setting boundaries and saying, hey, no, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to say that. I don't want you to have this power over me. Whatever it might be, learning to set those boundaries and being okay with saying no. And lastly, give yourself some grace. Practice gratitude, practice giving yourself grace, and just remind yourself that you're a human being. So if you're super on routine with things and then you have a bad day, remind yourself that it's okay and that you're a human being and you're going to have bad days. You're going to have a bad week or whatever it might be, but you can always climb out of it. And I always just kind of like to end my episodes reminding you guys that you're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you fall off routine. I just had a whole month of January not being on routine. It is currently January 21st as I'm recording this. You guys are listening to this at the end of the week. But I just want to remind you guys that I was so off track when January started. I got COVID actually right after New Year's. So I was super, super sick basically this whole month. I feel like COVID literally lasted me like 3 weeks because I had COVID where I wasn't feeling well at first. And then I took a test, I was positive. And then obviously just had been like staying home. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't going grocery shopping. The only place I was going was my boyfriend's house because he also had COVID. So that's it. Other than that, me and him were bed rotting, watching Love Island and eating shit food. And that was it. I was not working out. I was doing like some computer work, but not as much as I should have been. And I was just super off track and off routine. And it just was horrible. Like it is January 21st, and I had just had my first workout of the month yesterday. And so I was just feeling really shit and really horrible I just was, because I was just not having a good time. Like I was not doing anything for myself. I was sick for about 2 weeks, and then I took about a week to recover because I still felt kind of like nauseous all the time. My throat was still hurting a little bit. So I felt like I was just sick this whole month. I know that a lot of people were like getting sick too. At least I saw on my social media and just like my friends and stuff. But I was not in routine at all. So yesterday, which was January 20th, I had my first workout of the month. I went to the gym at like 7 p.m. And then yesterday I've been sleeping really horribly. Last night I still slept at like 2 o'clock in the morning, but this was the first morning that I woke up before 10 a.m. all of January. I woke up this morning at 7:15 to go to my workout class. And every other day these past 2, 3 weeks, my alarm has been going off at 7:30. I snooze it. I wake back up again at 9 a.m. I snooze it and I wake back up again at like 10:30. And it's been horrible. I have been so off routine, so not balanced, so not on my good habits, and it's been horrible. So I'm finally now getting back into the habit of it. It's better late than never. So even though it's later January, that's totally okay. But I was definitely feeling really horrible with the habits that I was doing. And I was just not on track, not having a good time, not being the best version of myself. And I just kind of wanted to give myself some grace and just be like, look, you were sick, you fell off track, but you're getting back on the tracks now. I'm now going to start sleeping early, waking up early again, doing my workouts in the morning, being really productive during the day. And I'm going to start to incorporate those good habits into my life again. I just started to incorporate like coconut cold into my morning routine. I've been taking hair supplements like I think it's like the Mary's vitamin. It's like that orangey It's like the Mary's vitamin thing. I don't know. It's like this orange thing. I'm on this huge hair care journey because I just got a trim. If you're watching the video, you can see my hair. If not, you can go to my social media to look at my hair. And it looks really great and healthy, and the ends like feel amazing. But I'm dying for long hair. So I've been really incorporating like hair masks and hair oiling and all that good stuff. I think I'm going to do a whole episode on kind of like glowing up and everything I'm doing so that I feel my best for this summer, which sounds crazy because it's January, but it's sooner than we think. So I think I'm going to do a whole episode on that coming up. But, anyways, that is how I'm going to end today's episode. I hope it really helped you guys to just give you a ton of reminders of things that you can do to really become a high value version of yourself because you are in control of this. You are in control of taking that initiative to make that change in your life. Your emotional and mental and physical health rely on you. Do not forget that. Please make sure to go follow on all my social medias at For You From Eve. TikTok and Instagram is where I am most active, but I link everything down below. I have my LTK, my Amazon storefront. I have a million links on my link tree. So go look at everything that I provide for you guys. I sell a bunch of stuff for you guys as well on my website. You guys have been loving the 2025 game plan, which I'm so happy about. I actually just filled it in the other day now that I'm getting back on track with everything. So definitely make sure that you guys go ahead and check that out. And then, of course, make sure you give this show a good rating, a good review. And thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. You guys mean everything to me. And I will talk to you guys next week. Next week, we have a guest episode with Gemma from The Psychology of Your 20s. You definitely want to make sure you're listening to it. We had a great conversation with her cutie little Australian accent, and I really enjoyed talking to her. So, again, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys next week. Mwah.